Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm Dr. Gregory, and you're watching Dr. Gregory's Meta Moments. Today is episode 5, and it's also Super Bowl Sunday. Here's one of the books that I actually haven't reviewed with you yet, but I did mention it in my original episode, Metaphysical Anatomy. I'm excited to talk about this book because it's definitely outside the box. Just to get back to recapping it, it's a book that is separated by various diagnoses and disease processes, and it doesn't talk about the disease itself. It connects to the emotional trauma that is associated with those diseases and makes the disease symptom worse. So for instance, like we talked about last week with Bruce Lipton's The Biology of Belief, epigenetics is the science of genes that are turned on and off based on the signals it receives from the environment. The signals you receive from the environment is essentially your perception of your environment. Those are the signals that turn your genes on and off, and thus disease processes can be created or even cured. So, when I talk to you about this particular diagnosis, I decided to choose something quite common that I see in a fair amount of my patients as well, thyroid disease. I want you to pay close attention to the emotional processes that go along, the behavior patterns, and recognize that although these behavior patterns may be long-lasting, it doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity or the power in changing these behavior patterns, because the more you do, or at least the more you're aware of your behavior patterns leading to your ailments, then you start to make different choices, and hence your epigenetics can change. So you are not stuck with any particular diagnoses for the rest of your life. Just know that. It's very possible to heal yourself from a disease process and not necessarily need surgery or a pharmaceutical to help you feel better. I'm a living example of that. I had peptic ulcer disease for about 25 years, starting from the age of 16 till I was about 44. I'm 46 right now. And when I went to read this Metaphysical Anatomy book, it was thankfully after I was cured of my disease, but I recognized that a lot of it was because I stopped creating those same behavior patterns over and over again that were exemplified in that chapter. And because I don't behave in a similar way or react to my environment in a similar way, my symptoms slowly disappeared. And now I'm symptom-free and I do not take any medication specifically for the acid in my stomach, which is pretty exciting. So, like I said, today we're going to talk about thyroid disease. Here we go. You have a deep fear of not being heard and being misunderstood, so you communicate your opinions with great urgency. You fear you will not have enough time to say what needs to be said. You invest a great deal of energy making sure that you're understood. You have a deep unconscious fear of being attacked if your intentions are misinterpreted. You feel undermined and attacked by those who should have listened and protected you. Instead, you felt attacked and threatened in your own territory. This left you feeling that nowhere is safe. You also seem to have a fear of not receiving your fair share of love and acknowledgement. This can often cause you to become more aggressive with the intention of making sure that you receive the acknowledgement and love you deserve. Aggression equals respect and being heard and safety. You may have a fear that if you speak, you will make things worse, and in some cases you may provoke an argument, as arguments were your parents' way of communicating. This pattern has overlapped into your personal relationships. The family used confrontation as a way to communicate. Communication has been expressed in an aggressive and forceful way, and it was motivated by a fear of not being heard. This may be one of the many reasons why you became aggressive when you needed to express yourself. You also seem to be more aggressive when you feel out of control in your environment. The aggression seems to be compensating for feeling ridiculed and embarrassed, and you're trying to reclaim your personal power. You saw influential people using aggression to control and manipulate people and their circumstances. In other cases, you may be submissive and resort to a state of numbness and needing to hide. You feel blamed and wronged for many faults and problems in the family life. You have a need to always justify your intentions and goals before you're allowed to make your own decisions. You need to make sure that your side of the story is understood to avoid possible attack and blame. You often get caught up in drama. You may find yourself in circumstances where you feel vulnerable to possible attack. You swallow your words and keep your opinions to yourself until you just can't take it anymore. Then you may go into an explosive, raging fit when your truth's twisted. These outbursts can be quite intense as a result of long-term suppression of your opinions and needs. The bigger the thyroid problem, the more challenged and threatened you felt during childhood. You suppressed anger, and it has become a shield of protection against your environment and the people that might potentially harm you. There's a great deal of trauma related to deprivation and scarcity. This could be love, food, attention, or security. You learned if you don't act quickly, you'd miss out on having needs met. This could also be related to ancestral trauma, where they didn't act quickly enough and traumatic consequences followed. Trauma related to an ancestor that was attacked or abused when they had an urgent message to deliver or share. Trauma related to war, where someone's cry for help was never heard. More possibilities should be explored. So what happened in the past when you expressed yourself? How did influential people make you feel? What happened that made you use aggression in order to be heard and respected? Where's this pattern stemming from? You're overcompensated by using anger to get the attention and respect of others due to the lack of attention in your adolescent years. Explore some possibilities. Trauma related to scarcity. It's also related to ancestral trauma. Lack of love, attention, food, security. Trauma related to acting not quickly enough, resulting in disastrous consequences. You used anger to express boundaries and say no, and the anger is driven by a deep fear of not being heard and respected. Explore the possibilities. Who made you feel you needed to protect yourself by using anger or running away? Explore trauma related to feeling helpless to change or take control of your circumstances and being stuck in a fight or flight mode. Why do you fear speaking your truth? What would happen? What happened in the past? Did either of your parents have the same fear or pattern? You may have learned that conflict's the only way to communicate. Explore associations made with communication. Trauma related to feeling stuck in conflictive or abusive circumstances, feeling helpless and unable to change how you feel and how these circumstances affected you. Why? How does that make you feel? You're searching for a disruption in the communication with others and a journey by itself, uncertainty, lack of direction, and moving through. Did your mother want a boy instead of a girl? Was she under a great deal of pressure to please her husband and family by delivering a boy? That's a possibility. Explore further. Could it be trauma related to a daughter in your family? Could it be trauma related to a miscarriage or feeling like a failure? Do you feel that bearing children will give you the importance you're searching for? So those are all possibilities that could be related or at least somehow affected by your thyroid disease. Again, like I said, you're not just going to cure your thyroid disease by suddenly making affirmations and understanding what's going on. It's about how your disease pattern worsens or improves when you continue to manage your same behaviors over and over again that led to the problem in the first place. So again, we can go back to my diagnosis of peptic ulcer disease, but I'm also extremely open to other diagnoses that you might want to pursue and look into. There's so many common diagnoses in here. Chronic back pain is a really good one. IBS is a really good one. Migraines. So like I said, if you're interested in a diagnosis process that you would like me to review at some point, I'd be happy to do so. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy Sunday. Love you all.